It's time for Zeb at the Ranch with your host Zeb Bell and newsworthy and noteworthy John Ellis. This podcast will always be brutally honest with integrity and honesty and without low-class, no-class cursing that's in vogue today with illiterate politicians. Now, Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh my, big day, the day before Thanksgiving, and we've got an awful lot to be thankful for. I know from Zeb at the Ranch to all of you, happy Thanksgiving, enjoy your families, and don't worry about all the diets and everything else until the day after Thanksgiving. I mean, really gorge yourself. Hello, John Ellis, how are you?
Hey, doing good, and before we get started, I just want to say hi to my daughter Shastina, who is watching.
That's a beautiful name.
It is. It's the mountain next to Mount Shasta.
Yeah.
And it was actually one that her grandpa, not me, the other grandpa, was going to name one of her daughters. I can't remember who it was now. Maybe it was Gina. Anyway, he chickened out, so we used it.
All right. Well, I want to tell you and your family happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
What's your favorite part of Thanksgiving, real quick? The favorite part of the dinner?
The favorite part of the dinner was anything that my son-in-law's cook. In this case, it's going to be Mark, and he does a fantastic turkey, although this year he's going to be getting some help from everybody that's there. We got a whole bunch of people showing up.
I see.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I wish you a happy Thanksgiving.
Now, beyond that, if there is festive activities afterwards, it's always fun when we get together a little family poker game.
There you go. Now you're talking. Maverick from the Old West. There you
like
go.
that, yeah.
Hey, it's time for our quote of the day to start things off right on this program, and this one really is appropriate for what's happened recently. During the government Democratic shutdown of our government, the Democrats vowed to starve as many food stamp recipients as it took to get free health care for illegal immigrants.
Well, they did a good job, didn't they?
Yeah, let me tell you. Hey, you know, you're a libertarian.
Yes.
And I'm very conservative.
Right.
And so far on all the episodes before, we really haven't had too much of a Grand Canyon between us as far as attitude is concerned on various subjects. And today you're going to talk basically about the Eastern Seaboard and the English colonists that came here for basically the first Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Whenever you think of Thanksgiving, you inevitably think of the Pilgrims. And to be honest, Zeb, I wish I'd have been paying attention in school. I would have learned something that I'm learning nowadays.
I think that's true with both of us.
Yeah. But anyway, Roger Williams was a 17th century English colonist who's most famous for founding the colony of Rhode Island.
Mm-hmm.
He was also known as a friend and a defender of the Native Americans, which was uncommon at that time. Williams was an English-born Puritan minister who became a radical dissenter, as I identify with that.
Okay.
His beliefs that the government should not enforce religious practices and should stay out of the church led to his conflict with the colonial authorities. Most of his contemporaries criticized his ideas as a prescription for chaos and anarchy, and the vast majority believed that each nation must have its national church and could require that dissenters conform. His clash with the Puritan leadership in Massachusetts for beliefs regarding religious freedom resulted in his banishment from the Massachusetts Bay Colony. Now, in 1636, Williams founded Providence as a refuge, offering what he termed liberty of conscience. That's an important term for libertarians.
Absolutely.
Providence became the nucleus of the Rhode Island colony and was founded on the principle of religious tolerance, a radical idea at the time, and became a haven for various religious groups. It is the first government in the Western world to guarantee religious freedom in its founding charter.
But basically, when you read this about Roger Williams and the concepts that he had regarding the church, beliefs, and government, that really was carried right on through to the writing of our Constitution.
Yeah, like I said, in my eyes, he was the father of religious freedom in this continent.
Absolutely.
And so he was very much drawn upon. He was heavily influenced on that.
But today, we were talking about this prior to the podcast this afternoon, and today, religious freedom seems to be against Christianity in this country and growing every day with more animosity.
Yeah, it seems like that now it's kind of exactly the opposite. We want the Christians to shut up and everybody else can speak.
Yeah.
So it's not what it used to be, that's for sure.
The melting pot of this country is gone.
That's an important thing, too.
And you know what? I heard somebody say the other night on a podcast that they had on television, that it's a good thing the melting pot is gone. And I disagree totally with this, because I want this America to go back to the concept that we're all Americans.
Yeah, the melting pot's a great thing, and that's how any nation, really, it doesn't matter, America, something in Europe, needs to be. If you're going to come into a society, you don't, you're leaving something else. Why would you bring that with you?
Yeah. You can still have your religion,
Sure.
your beliefs.
Yep.
But as far as our culture is concerned, and we're looking at our culture right now tomorrow on Thanksgiving Day, our culture is to sit down for one day as a family and give thanks for all the blessings that we've had bestowed upon us.
Right.
And I'm not going to ever change that.
Right. Well, there's no reason to, as far as I'm concerned. And maybe we're swinging the other direction, you know. I think this thing with Charlie Kirk was a big help for our country. I hate to say it, but his assassination kind of brought together the idea that we need to do something about our religious freedom and freedom of speech.
You talked to me the other day, and we were talking about Thanksgiving, and we're going to be talking about Thanksgiving for the gist of this whole program.
Right.
In just a very few moments, we're going to have a very, very dear friend of my radio program that was on many, many times, and that's economist and professor of finance and economy, and that's Dr. Michael Busler's coming on the air.
Yeah.
Then after that, we're going to be talking about Thanksgiving all through the rest of the hour, and especially with the Why Not God segment with Pastor Alex Lissau.
Yeah.
I just honestly think whether, and you and I said this earlier, whether it is a bad circumstance and whether it's a good circumstance, they all seem to kind of mold together, if you will, with God's plan for us.
Oh, I definitely believe that. Each of us can relate to areas in our life where we can see God's plan, even in the bad, even in the bad.
You know, with all the bad things that have happened to me, and we'll be talking about that later, whether it was the polio or the plane crash, all the multiplicity of horse accidents and everything else, there was always at the end of that trail something good that came of that.
Right. That's right. Well, one of the things I've always said is the only bad mistake is one that you don't learn from. And it's the same thing in your life experiences. Some of the bad things that you go through will shape and mold you so that you're better in the future. There's a reason for it.
Well, look at the people that came here, Plymouth Rock, et cetera, and the first Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Things were a little tough.
Oh, beyond tough. That settlement that Roger Williams, not directly at that point in time, but that early Massachusetts Bay Colony setting.
Absolutely.
They lost half of their people on the first go-around.
Yeah.
It was incredibly difficult. And Roger Williams credits his survival when he was banished and he was escaping to his help from the Indians. So there's a blessing from God, and he considered it that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't have the education and the wherewithal to really even come across the ocean and land at Plymouth Rock or land on this continent.
Yeah.
They were kind of like a boat without a rudder. They didn't know what they were going to do.
Yeah, and now we could just take our cell phones and navigate across the entire ocean with no problem at all.
Yeah.
And yet those guys, they had it rough trying to find where they were going.
I don't know whether it was all courage or whether it was a lot of naivete on their part. But I mean, to come over here and not realize about the winter conditions, not realize about housing conditions, not worrying about food, which is the primary source of worry. They were lucky not all of them just didn't stop to exist.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure they probably had some idea or maybe heard what the conditions are, but till they got here and found out. And you can only bring so many supplies with you, and once they run out, you're on your own.
Yeah. What about the supply ships back in those days, Roger Williams and the rest of them? Did they have any supply ships coming in? That's something I've never really understood. When they got off the principal boat and took the smaller boats to land on our shores, didn't they have supply boats that were going to furnish them anything?
I don't know if they did or not, to be honest with you. I don't remember reading anything about that other than the fact that I think England was trying to keep their claws in them and get something back from the colonists, at some point. And so there were ships that went back and forth. But to begin with, in the 1600s, I don't believe there was much ship traffic at all.
Absolutely.
You came and that was it.
But religion, the country, our United States of America, and the respect for religious tolerance, going back to what you said, liberty of conscience and religious tolerance, we've changed from the initial landing at Plymouth Rock all the way till 2025. Things have really changed, maybe not all for the better.
Well, yeah, there's definitely some great things that have happened, with I mean, we look at the ease of life to go take a hot shower and just things like that. Definitely things are better like that. But I think we've forgotten that rugged individualism that the people at that time had, where they relied on each other. They didn't rely on the government. They relied on each other to survive and to do well and to flourish. And I think that's something that we've lost. But yeah, we've got some great things going for us now.
How can we ever get that back? I mean, the sense of camaraderie, the sense of fellowship, and the sense of helping each other.
Yeah, the only way that's ever going to happen, and I've said this before, is if we end up in another depression and the government isn't able to handle it, and we have to start relying on each other again.
Yeah,
I don't know when that's going to happen. I don't think it'll happen in my lifetime, but barring that, anytime there's a problem, we always look to the government for some help.
yeah.
And that's not what Thanksgiving's about.
Absolutely.
You know?
John, why don't you tell everybody how they can tune in to this broadcast, and then hopefully we'll go to our first guest for this podcast this afternoon.
Okay. If you want to join us with the broadcast, you're going to want to go to www.zebbell.com, and the broadcast is right there on the home page. You can see the broadcast archives from the previous time on the left there, and then if you want to get the Cow Pies and Coffee Cups newsletter, there's a link on the left there. It's a big old square link, and you can just click that, sign up for that, and Zeb will send out his rantings that he puts out every week, and you can be part of that too.
You know, my rantings. I've calmed myself over the last couple of weeks, but please, Cow Pies and Coffee Cups has gone extremely well, and we welcome you to tune into it. We are right now waiting for our dear friend, Dr. Michael Busler, back in New Jersey, as a matter of fact, to come on. Give you a little background about this man. When I had my radio program, he was one of my stalwart guests that would get on and be able to talk and explain in very, very efficient tones exactly what's going on with the economy, exactly what's going on in politics, handling the economy, etc. And so I'm anxious to have him on my podcast here this afternoon. And we're still waiting for him, correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay.
I just sent him a text to see if he's getting ready to go there. So we'll be patient for him and wait and see what happens, and we'll go from there.
What do you think about Thanksgiving? We'll talk a little bit about Thanksgiving as far as the celebration of Thanksgiving. Did your family do anything special or different over the years that you kind of keep a tradition going today?
Not really anything different. My family growing up, we just had a typical too big of a dinner, that type of thing, and so yeah, it was just normal for us. So
Turkey,
yeah, turkey,
ham,
the whole thing. Yep,
dressing,
yep,
pumpkin and pecan pie.
yep. Pumpkin and pecan pie.
Yeah. And what was that bang? Was that a gun going off? Was that the pilgrims shooting their first turkey?
Yeah. No, that's our friend coming on right now. I'm going to switch you over there to him.
All right. There he is, ladies and gentlemen, a dear, dear friend of this program. Do I need to turn this on my sheet, or is that okay, John? Mute that or just leave everything the way it is?
I think you're fine for the moment.
All right.
I'll check it out.
I would like to say good afternoon to a dear friend, a professor of finance at Stockton University in New Jersey, and a well-known economist, and has written many, many opinion columns on the economy. Dr. Michael Busler, good afternoon, sir, and happy Thanksgiving.
Well, good afternoon to you, Zeb. Thanks for having me. As you know, it's always my pleasure to be here, and thank you for the kind words.
Well, all through my radio career with my talk show, you were one of my favorite guests, and I'm going to start things off real quick so we don't waste any time. I would like your opinion as to what happened in the last couple of weeks with a avowed communist, socialist, taking over as mayor of New York City, Zoran Mondami, with his thoughts on the economy and what he wants to change in the world's most productive and busy city. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are I'm very worried about New York City. New York City is the bastion, really, of capitalism, really, in not only the country, but the world. And it's done extremely well following the capitalistic principles. In capitalism, though, people are paid according to the value of their output. So there's a lot of people in New York providing a lot of wealth and a lot of output for the economy, and they're getting paid well. some of the people who have kind of the lower middle class or some of the upper lower class jobs are not getting paid as well. And with the cost of living being as high as it is in New York, that's a fairly large segment of the population that feels they just can't afford anything. So here comes Mondami along and say, look, I know you're having trouble even affording the bus to get to work. We'll make that free. I know you're having trouble paying your rent. It keeps going up so much every year. We're going to freeze the rents. I know you're having trouble paying for your health care for your children. We'll end up having the government pay for that for you. So to those people who are having a very difficult time affording to live in New York, these were very appealing propositions.
Mm-hmm.
And so enough vote to win. He didn't get a majority. There were three candidates running, but he did get a plurality, meaning he got the most votes. And as a result of that, he's elected president, elected mayor, and I'm very worried about what could happen with New York going forward.
Well, let's ask this question then. What about the meeting this last week with President Trump? To me, it was kind of a goody two-shoes, slap on the back, shake hands. Everybody was trying to play up that they're the best of buddies and everything. Did Trump kind of consolidate his thoughts behind Mondami, or what do you think is going to happen over there, kind of a coalition with the president and the mayor of New York City?
So Trump wanted to establish that the goals that he has, and really the goals that Mondami has, are very similar. We'd like to make New York more affordable for the workers that do work there. Now, he did say how we're going to get there is much different, but we do want to make it more affordable.
Mm-hmm.
So he, in the beginning here, look, I'll work with you as much as I can. When it turns out 6 months or 12 months or 18 months from now that Mondami implemented some policies that turned out to be great failures, then Trump's going to say, look, I tried to work with the guy, but look what he's doing. I'm going to have to step in and fix this. He's talking about, too, people are complaining the cost of food and groceries is too high. So Mondami said, well, that's because these capitalists charge too much for the product. So we're going to have government-run grocery stores. And because the government doesn't have to make a profit, we'll be able to sell the products for a lower price. And that should help everybody. The problem with that, while it sounds good, everywhere it's tried, it's failed. And why is that? Because the government employees are not motivated by profit. Now, the Mondami says it's a good thing. We can eliminate profit. It's actually a very bad thing. Because they're not motivated by profit, there's no incentive to reduce the cost. Now, if the cost of something goes up, they'll say, well, it might create jobs or something, so we're going to allow the cost increases to be passed on. So pretty soon what ends up happening is the government says, look, we're going to set prices that you can charge. The costs start going up above the prices, and then they can't even afford to buy the goods. And the result of that is you get empty shelves.
Well, there's one other aspect of this I want you to comment on. It's all great to say, well, we want to have prices lowered and we want to make everything more cost effective for the consumer. Let's back this train all the way back up in agriculture, back to the producer, the farmer. You're going to be losing a ton of farmers that we can't afford to lose in this day and age. Ranchers and farmers are going to go out of business if they can't get that one simple word, profit, for all of their work.
It's exactly right. The way our system works, we assume people are motivated primarily, not necessarily entirely, but at least primarily by self-interest. And business says, look, if I'm going to continue to provide this product, grow the food that I'm growing, I have to make a profit.
All right.
And if I can't make a profit, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'll do something else. So profit is not a bad word. And it's not business people seeking to make abnormally high profit that makes prices so high. It's the fact that the cost of things coming to the middleman is so high. So what we need to do, particularly with agriculture, we see beef prices, for instance, a lot of fruits and vegetables. Now, some of that is due to reduction in supply. And why did we get? There was this screwworm virus in Mexico that affected their cows. We wouldn't let Mexico sell any beef to us.
That's right.
Then, as part of the tariff policy, we put tariffs on Brazil. Well, they imported their beef, but the tariffs drove the prices up. So what Trump has done has said, I'm going to take off the tariffs on beef, coffee, vegetables mostly from South American countries. That'll bring the prices down probably starting next month or shortly thereafter. Try to take some action to have more beef farmers, more ranchers rather, get into the market and start producing more beef. Now, it takes a little bit of time to do that, but the whole thrust of Trump's policies are we're looking at the supply side.
Yeah.
So prices are too high. Let's take action to increase the supply. Price of oil is too high. We're going to increase the supply of oil. That's going to bring oil prices down and gasoline prices as well. I expect inflation by the end of next year to be down under 2%, mostly because oil will be down under $55 a barrel. Gasoline will be under $2.50 a gallon.
You know, Dr. Busler, you've been on the show many times, like I stated already. And we're looking back now 11 months into this Trump administration. In your opinion, as an economist and a man that I really trust your opinion, are we on the right track with this Trump administration? And if so, why in the world are the Democrats doing everything they can to derail the train?
So I think we are on the right track. So when President Trump came into office, the inflation rate was about 3%. It's about 3% today. Now, it did go down partway through the year and it came back up again. But President Trump will get the inflation rate down mostly by getting energy, increase the supply of energy, bring down the price of energy. And again, that should help inflation. It takes time. So it will be until next year until we start to see a lot of this impact. The government was shut down. We didn't get a lot of data. Now that the government's open, we get data. I think we're going to see some reduction in inflation already. So one of the questions was, you asked, why are the Democrats trying to derail us? Because the Democrats' primary concern is not the welfare of the country necessarily. Their primary concern is to get back in power and do anything he can do to discredit President Trump. They're able to get away with it now. This time next year, they won't be able to get away with it because the economic climate will be much, much better. And I think the public will look at them saying, look, we've fought this all along. It turned out to be a pretty good thing.
Quick question and short answer on this for the time remaining. What about the Supreme Court upholding the tariffs and Trump's tariffs with all these foreign nations? Are you happy with the situation, and how do you think the Supreme Court's going to go?
So I like the way tariffs have been working. What President Trump wants to do is bring manufacturing back to the U.S., have companies in foreign countries invest in the U.S. and build factories here. That's working splendidly. So I like the tariff policy. I think it's working. I think we just need a little more time, and I think the tariff policy will work and bring inflation down. And regarding the Supreme Court, I'm not sure how they're going to rule. I hope they rule that they allow Trump to continue with these tariff policies, because not only is this economic policy, but he uses that against countries and say, hey, look, we're going to tariff you if you don't stop fighting each other. So he's been able to get some peace deals as a result of these tariff threats. So I hope the Supreme Court allows him to go through.
And what about Jay Powell with the Fed, interest rates? Your thoughts on that quickly? Are they going to bring rates down?
Yeah. So he's going to, I believe, drop rates in next month, December 8th and 9th, and probably 2 or 3 times next year. Jerome Powell has been the worst in my view, the worst Federal Reserve chair since Arthur Burns back in the 70s when we had an inflation problem. He did everything wrong here. The sooner we can replace him with somebody who is more attuned to what's happening, the better off the economy will be.
Absolutely. I just want to say thank you for the time you've committed to this program, our podcast, and you've always been so helpful and so much of an education source for me on the economy, et cetera. And that's Dr. Michael Busler. I want to wish you and your family a very happy Thanksgiving. I'm sure you're going to be bicycling on the boardwalk or whatever, so have a great day, and please come back in the near future. We'd love to have you.
I certainly will, Zeb. It's always my pleasure to be here, and do have a happy Thanksgiving with you and your family.
God bless you, my dear friend. Thank you.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, a dear friend, Dr. Michael Busler, back in New Jersey, and we thank him very much for being on and talking about our economy and the Trump administration. Thank you. Right now, John, I'm going to ask you some questions. I believe that we have a caller that's calling in, and we'll go ahead and I'll unmute number 3 and say to the caller, good afternoon, caller. Are you on the air?
I am, Zeb. How are you?
Well, old and fat and hungry for turkey tomorrow, my dear lady. How are you doing?
Well, I'm about the same, only I've been making pies all day, so we're getting ready.
Now, you say you're getting ready for Thanksgiving, and what kind of special happenings or special events are you going to do with your family on Thanksgiving?
Well, George has been kind of under the weather, so we're not going to have a whole lot of people over, but my younger brother and his wife are coming, and of course my oldest son Michael will be here. We're just going to sit around and eat a nice dinner and eat some pie and maybe think up some memories, and remember days and remember the people that aren't with us anymore.
Right there, Donna, I just want to ask you about that because I think Thanksgiving, to me, is much more than giving thanks. It is the remembrances of the family members. It is the remembering of funny things that maybe happen at the Thanksgiving table. I can remember, I'll just chime in here with one that I never will forget. I had an Aunt Millie that used to show up at Thanksgiving every year, and when we had it at our house, and she would spill something every year of great magnitude on the table, whether it was a complete bowl of gravy, whether it was tipping the turkey upside down, whatever. But those are memories I'll never forget, and I love that lady.
And of course, she was named Aunt Millie.
Yeah.
Hey, Donna.
Hi, honey. How are you?
Good.
Zeb, my dad he was my hero. He always made every holiday that he could very special for all of us kids growing up. And so he's been gone, 17 years now. And I still have his phone number on speed dial.
Really?
Just so I can hear his voice. Yeah.
Oh, my.
So, but, as bad as things are for, some of us, we had a wonderful visit with Hugh and Deanne last week, and you look around and there's always somebody worse off than you.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
Thanksgiving and Christmas for us, for George and I, is giving to people who necessarily don't have. We don't have an abundance, but we live comfortably, and so we try to share what we have and give to those that are less fortunate than we are.
Yeah, but your Thanksgiving is not just a day. Your Thanksgiving with George is also a multiplicity of days to where you celebrate your community and you help out at the various functions during the 4th of July, during your fair and everything else. I mean, you are really community oriented, and I totally respect what you're doing.
Well, Zeb, that's all part of my makeup. My dad was always giving to others and helping whenever he could. And he instilled that in all 4 of his daughters and all 4 of his sons. And, we just kind of try to carry it on and instill that with our families. It's not what you get, it's what you can give that will make somebody else's day a little bit brighter. We don't know what people are going through. They could have lost a dog or a person or whatever. Just a just a smile and a hi, how are you? That can make a big difference in somebody's mindset.
Oh, amen.
Yep.
Amen. Thank you for calling in on our Thanksgiving program the day before. And to you and George, I know George is going to wrestle and fight anybody that tries to take his drumstick away. But God bless you and have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And thank you for all your support of this program.
Well, you're definitely welcome. And thank you, Zeb, for all you do. And is that John that was piping in there?
Yeah, we've got another caller coming in, and I
Okay.
thank you and God's blessings to you, my dear friend. And you and George have a blessed Thanksgiving.
You also, and John too. Thank
All right,
you.
thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye. Right now, we have another caller calling in with Thanksgiving wishes, and we're going to see if this gentleman is on the air and ready to go. Good afternoon, my friend.
Top of the evening to you, Lassie.
Hello, my friend. Happy Thanksgiving, happy Turkey Day, happy pumpkin pie, whatever the case might be.
Well, it's going to be all the above, and then some.
What is your favorite part about Thanksgiving, my dear friend Doug?
Well, my favorite part was going, to my mom and dad's place and meeting cousins and family and just having a good time. And us kids would all go outside and play, whether it was snowing or whether it was sunny. And it was a good time growing up.
It really was a good time. And, it was tradition in my household, Doug, that we all gathered around the TV set. Everybody gathered around the TV set, and nobody did anything except for the ladies out in the kitchen getting ready with the dinner. Nobody did anything except cheer on the Green Bay Packers on Thanksgiving Day when they played the Detroit Lions.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, those were the days. Yeah.
But you've got a lot to be thankful for, and I wanted to ask you about some of those things. You're a great Christian man that has called my radio program many, many times. What are your thoughts about some of the things that a lot of people might not think about as far as being thankful?
Well, first off, I'm thankful every day that God sent his son to be nailed to a cross and raised again to help me, help me be a better Christian, help take away my sins and my burden. He paid a debt that none of us could ever repay. And I'm thankful for him every single day and every evening.
And there's something else that needs to be said, too, is that you have done outstanding work, and I commend you, helping the seniors with their Meals on Wheels programs, the senior centers. That's a passion for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it was in my mom's DNA, and it just happened to jump over into mine. But yes, there's one thing to be thankful for, everybody out there. The seniors that are struggling, that are homebound, they need help with Meals on Wheels. But just remember, they built this country that we are enjoying.
Absolutely.
I mean, and they did it without the technology. They did it with the sweat off their brow and the muscles on their back. So we that are fortunate enough to still be healthy, and the younger people that are listening to this, contact your nearest senior center and see what they need help. See if they need some volunteers. If you're a church group or Boy Scout group, contact them. See if they need the yard cleaned up around. See if they need their building washed down or windows washed. I mean, do some community service.
Absolutely.
But if the churches would get together, if we could get 12 churches to go to a senior center and say, we'll take 1 month out of the year and we'll help with Meals on Wheels. We'll take 2 routes or 3 routes. And they do it 1 month out of the year and spread it around your congregation. I mean, it'd be a blessing to the seniors and the senior center.
Absolutely. Doug, let me ask you quickly in the time that we have left. You and I both have shown a little bit of concern and disgruntlement against the government. They just don't seem like they really want to get involved in helping. This is my opinion. Whether you're different with your thoughts, that's fine. In helping our seniors. I mean, we're all a youth-generated society, but our seniors, like you said when you started, they're the ones that built this country and made it what it is today. Why can't we give more back to them?
Well, the politicians, I guess, maybe I'm not speaking for all of them, but this is my opinion on their thoughts, is that they're old and they're not going to be around much longer, so they're not going to be much help to us down the road. But baloney, they're the ones that made this country that you're enjoying today.
Absolutely.
So, and the Office on Aging, they have been cut back on money, so they're not taking on any new Meals on Wheels. So if somebody drops off, then they can't replace that person with another one until they get more money. So we need to contact our representatives, our senators, our congressmen, and demand that they take care of the seniors.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But you can also, let's get together too, go to a senior center and see how many people are on a waiting list, and then adopt a senior. I think it's about $4 a day to feed a senior on Meals on Wheels, $4 or $5 a day. So there's $25 a week. So if you donate $25, it'll feed a senior for a week, and somebody else donate 25, feed another senior for a week.
Absolutely.
Or, just go talk to them and see what they need to help. See if they need donations, or if they need volunteers, or just need a little money to help pay the bills.
You always ended your calls on my radio program with a special saying about our seniors, and I'm going to ask you to do that right now. But before you do, I want to wish to you and your family a very blessed Thanksgiving. Go ahead, if you would, please, Doug.
Well, you caught me off guard. I'm trying to remember what I used to say.
I'm trying to think of it also. Here we are on the podcast, but I think you said you'll leave with a full tummy.
And a full heart, yes. Go to a senior center and eat.
Absolutely. Doug, I appreciate you as a listener, and you're going to come back and visit with us in the future, but God's blessings to you and your family.
Oh, God blessings to you. And there's one thing you can do to save money for Christmas. Talk politics at a Thanksgiving meal.
I'll cut down on the list, won't it? Hey, man, thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving. Appreciate it.
You bet. Happy Thanksgiving. God bless.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. I'm blessed to have such wonderful, wonderful people calling into my program, friends that have been friends for many, many years. Don't forget, ZebAtTheRanch at hotmail.com. And if you want to listen to the podcast, watch the podcast, it's zebbell.com. And also sign up for cow pies and coffee cups. John, where are we at? I believe we have our next guest, and this is going to be a great segment with one of my dearest, dearest friends way back in Tennessee, the segment called Why Not God with Pastor Alex Lissau. Good afternoon, my dear bearded friend. How are you?
Good afternoon. Good to see you guys on. Finally got me on screen. And I hope people aren't running out the door screaming and yelling out of fear, but it's good to be on with you guys.
Well, I'm absolutely excited to have you with us, Pastor Alex. And of course, tomorrow, Thanksgiving Day. I started off the program by talking to John a little bit. And I mean this when I say this, and I want to have you pick up the ball and run with this. Some of the worst times in my life, and I mentioned the plane crash and the polio and everything else, turned out to be a trail to some of the best times of my life. How would you relate to that?
I think that's absolutely true. For those of us who have built our lives on the faith that God has given us, the drive that is in us presented by the power of the Holy Spirit, we're gifted with this blessing that God has given us to be able in all circumstances. And in fact, that just takes us to the scriptures. 1 Thessalonians 5:18 says, it calls us to thank God for things in all circumstances, in all situations. And it kind of reminds me also of that, well, the words that we read in the second chapter of the book of Job, in which Job's his sons, his 7 sons and 3 daughters are gathered together for a dinner, and the roof collapses and kills them all off. And then one after another, his servants come to him and they talk about the Saracens and others coming and stealing his cattle and all these different things. And he's struggling, and he's sitting there and throwing ashes on himself and suffering the sorrows of the day and the moments. And his wife comes up to him. She says, "Why don't you just curse God and die?" And what he does is a response with, "Do I only give God glory in times of goodness? Don't I also give him glory in times of trouble and in difficult times?" And so, yeah, I believe that we live in a time of difficulty. We live in as I look at this whole picture, we have much to be thankful for, even in this midst of the times that we're dealing with the difficulties of our society, the unsettled conditions and circumstances that we face, the antagonisms that we see, the battles and wars going on within our own communities, within our own organizations and people groups, and one side and the other. And so for me, it's deeply important for us to put our faith back in God, because that gives us the strength to deal with these circumstances, even in this time.
Yeah, it's easy to be thankful when everything's going good for you, but it's hard to remember sometimes that there's a reason for the things that are happening. I remember a trip that we planned when our children were small, and we were going to go to Lagoon. Had the plan, everything, had the money set aside. Well, we blew out a tire just before we left, and so we had to use the money to fix the tire, not go to Lagoon. And my wife and I have always wondered what would have happened if we would have just said, "The heck with it, we're going anyway."
Mm-hmm.
Could we have been killed in a car accident? Could we have been involved in something else? You have to be able to take these things that don't necessarily go your way and realize that God's got his hand on you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%. And I believe that he is in control of all things. In fact, it kind of brings to thought an article I was reading in which they were speaking to the fact that the president of the United States had addressed the thing that we should pray as a nation, give thanks in these times in our society and our nation for the gifts of being Americans and for the things that America has for its people. And there's people who have argued both within the church structure and outside the church structure with regard to how does a government that approves certain kinds of things like abortion and other kinds of things that are contradictory to what we would be like as Christians, and at the same time allow themselves to say that we should pray. And the reality is that God is in charge of circumstances. He's in charge of both the realm of government and society, as well as he is in charge of our spiritual lives. God is God in all circumstances, in all situations. And so he establishes for us the strength to deal with the circumstances of this life, whether they're good or bad, whether they're great or not so great. And I think that is one of the things that we as a society, because we've walked far away and stepped away from God so much, that we have forgotten. In fact, I had read an article in which a study done by the Barna organization said that only about 14%, and there was other percentage numbers we spoke of on other issues, but only about 14% of people who call themselves Christians really strive to live the Christian life. And therefore, when the circumstances of life attack them and they have problems and circumstances that they have no control over, their frustrations come to a point where they don't know how to deal with them. And that creates conflict, it creates issues of trouble. And as a result, you have to ask yourself, well, if you had more faith, and it's hard for us. I don't deny that. I struggle with things when they don't go my way. I get upset and I get angry about them. But I got to stop long enough to realize that without God, they would be a lot worse.
Let me throw this at you this afternoon, Pastor. Tomorrow, hopefully, all across the United States, families will be sitting down at a table and bowing their heads and saying thank you to the good Lord above for all the blessings. But yet the media this past week, and it was so apparent to me, they're trying to, I think, tear apart the fabric of what Thanksgiving is and should be. Oh, they're sitting there saying, well, don't invite certain people to your home. It might cause dissension. Don't bring up certain topics. And everything. Why can't we just, and I'm going to be very blunt here, shut up and just say the prayer of Thanksgiving and everybody try to get along that day and leave politics out the back door and try to make our family situation just a little bit better?
Well, I agree with you 100%, Zeb. If we get together with our family, we ought to be getting together for the purposes of enjoying each other's company,
That's right.
enjoying each other's love, caring for the ones that are important for us, the older members of our families, the younger members or children. We should show a unity and a togetherness as family, and to lift up each other. And we ought to do that in society in general, not just in Thanksgiving or Christmas time, but in all circumstances. We should be doing that. We should be lifting each other up and strengthening each other. We pick and choose whether we want to argue over certain issues. And sometimes I think it's just better if we just, as you said, we just should shut up and let our relationships flourish.
I've been blessed with a family. I'm talking about my family, my siblings, and my parents, and we don't always see eye to eye on everything. But you know what? We never had a problem getting together for the holidays, Thanksgiving or Christmas or anything like that. We just leave our differences aside and keep our mouths shut and enjoy each other's company. And I love my family. I don't see them very often, but I do love my family, and we're all probably just about as crazy as they can get. But I think that's a great idea if we stop focusing on the things that divide us and
That's
start
right.
focusing on the things that we truly can be thankful for.
Yeah. Well, that's shutting up is a very difficult thing for me. I have a tendency to when something bothers me, if I don't say something about it, I struggle with it, and I admit that. I mean, it's a fallacy in my character, and yet at the same time, I think it's also important to know when to speak out and when not to. And certainly in family situations, sometimes it's better to just keep our mouths shut and go along to get along.
Do you ever think about the political haranguing that's going on right now between the Democrats and the Republicans and the animosity that's being thrown around? And wouldn't you just like to take the leadership of both parties and sit them down at a table tomorrow, right across from each other, and tell them, no, there's not going to be any talk of politics. No, there's not going to be any demeaning or any remarks, name calling, nothing. We're going to sit here. We're going to pray. We're going to give thanks. We're going to enjoy the meal. And I would bet any amount of money that I have in my little checkbook that after that dinner was over, maybe there might be a meeting of the minds, a handshake, and maybe they could get along a lot better.
Well, I don't question that kind of thinking at all. I think, Zeb, I think we've lost something uniquely. What I remember growing up and as a child and in high school, my teenage years, I think we've lost something uniquely American.
Yes.
A pride in who we are in America as Americans, and I know we still have it, and some have it strongly, but there is still this sense in my heart and my mind that we have got way too much division amongst us nowadays, and
Right.
It's maybe not maybe as bad as it could be, but yet it is certainly not as good as it has been in the past, and that's a sad thing. I think we've become so self-focused rather than unified in our American oneness that we've lost our ideals. We've lost our ability to love one another and love America as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think so. I remember when I was growing up, people were much more civil, and even with the different protests and so forth going on there. And now it just seems like every step we take, somebody has to be divisive about everything. And sometimes we just need to realize that and whether you believe in God or not, we are brothers in the human race at the very minimum, and we need to take care of each other, and we need to rely on each other and not just rely on the government or anything else, and be thankful for the things that we have.
It's interesting that you say those things, John, because we now live where we now live in rural Tennessee, outside of the summer town. We're surrounded in our area here, general area, with the Amish people, and I see them going by in their carriages, horse-drawn carriages, back and forth. They all dress almost identical in style and color, etc. And yet, for some reason, and I say this for some reason, because I really can't pinpoint inside me why. But every time I see them, I feel something good about them. I feel something good about me when I see them, because I see them committed to what they believe, standing together, not allowing themselves to be changed by society, not allowing themselves to be changed by technology, not allowing themselves to be changed by all of the surroundings. They're hardworking people. And they're not only hardworking, but they're greatly talented. Their skills and their abilities. Just the other day, I was sitting here looking out the window, and we have a pasture across the street from our house here. And generally speaking, there's some horses out in that pasture, which is a beautiful thing to watch. And especially as I get older, I enjoy those things. And yet, at the same time, the other day, I saw an Amish family come out with a big cart and another cart behind it with a container of fertilizer. And they were going up and down the field being pulled by horse teams and then putting out all this fertilizer up and down. And in front of the 6-horse team that was pulling the biggest wagon in the front, there was a kid that was maybe no more than about 2 feet tall on one side and one that was about 3 feet tall. They were the sons of the farmer, of the Amish farmer. And they were running full blast with the pace of the horses. And I thought to myself, look at what the family has done here. They've got dad and brothers and family all together, and they're all out working in the field, and they're raising their children to do the same thing, to understand hard work, to understand the responsibilities of who they are. And we've lost, I think, some of that in our country.
You've touched on something, and we've only got a couple of minutes left, and then I want you to give us a Thanksgiving Day prayer. But a lot of people say, well, they want a division of culture. They want to have these other immigrants to this country bring in their own culture and celebrate, etc. That's all well and good, but I don't want to diminish at all what America stands for with the cultures of Thanksgiving and the reverence of Christmas, Easter, all of this. I just absolutely don't want to see a diminishment of our culture. And what you're talking about right there goes back to family, a faith in God, and a faith for the future of that family. You brought tears to my eyes when you gave me that story.
I agree with that 100%. Zeb, I'll never forget the culture that my dad taught me about as I was growing up as a child before he passed away when I was 12. And the stories that he would tell me about the things that they did on his farm and working in the factories and going to military school and those kinds of things that he went through in his life. And it built in me a respect and love for my heritage. But I'm an American. And my father said to me, what a man who was totally committed to his historical past. He said to me, don't ever forget that you become a citizen of the United States of America. Speak English, learn how to salute the flag, and honor this country that has given you the freedom and the right to worship your God, to do the things that you want to do, and to be what you can be. And I've never forgotten that. And I think I love who I am. I love to tell the stories about my family history, but I will never give up the fact that I am an American, and I will die an American.
Absolutely. Pastor, I really would like you to elaborate on a prayer for not only Thanksgiving, but also a prayer for our future in this country. We're nearing the end of this year, 2025, going into some uncharted waters into 2026, and a lot of the left wants to change and transition our thoughts, our beliefs, and our politics and government. Your thoughts, if you would please, as to when we sit down at that table tomorrow and give Thanksgiving, what should we be praying for?
We should pray for God to bless this country with unity, peace, comfort, and joy, and a deep understanding of what it means to be one people out of many one. And that is what we are as a motto in our nation, out of many one. Let's pray. Gracious God, you are the source of all good and every perfect gift. Thank you for the bounty of the beneficial harvest of all kinds in our lives, and for all the ways you provide for us, especially for the gift of Jesus Christ, your Son, whose love and sacrifice have made us your own. We confess that we are often ungrateful and are obvious and oblivious of your constant care. We forget to seek your grace, and worse yet, to pass it on and share it with others, whether we know them intimately, socially, or simply as acquaintances or even as strangers. Forgive our pride, arrogance, and our presumption. Open our eyes to see the many blessings you have showered upon us, from our families and our friends to our daily bread, and from our health and to the very air we breathe. We pray for those who are struggling today, those who are lonely and grieving or hungry, and those who are working and laboring heavily instead of celebrating. We pray for our nation, its military, and all who serve and will be working these days. Be their comfort and their strength. Bless the meals that we share. Bless those who provided and prepared by your gift given to us those meals. Strengthen us by your word and spirit to be a source of justice and peace in a world gone chaotic. Slow the onslaughts and end the wars. Bring peace to this difficult time, and you bring that eternal peace that you have promised now and in the day of the Lord to come. And in a personal prayer request, Lord, I want to thank you for the 59 years of love and loving service and precious loyalty, for the blessed marriage you have given me with my wife, Barbara, who celebrates 59 years of marriage today. I thank you for that. And I thank you for all marriages and all families. Glory to God. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Oh, my
Amen.
goodness. Absolutely. Congratulations to you and your lovely wife, Barbara. And on behalf of John Ellis and myself and Deanne sitting over here, she's kind of navigating the whole program for us from my other desk. We wish you a very, very happy Thanksgiving. We miss you now that you're way back in Tennessee, but we wish you the very best of God's blessings.
Well, thank you, Zeb, and I wish the same to you and all who will listen to this and see this program. I want to thank God for the blessings that He's bestowed on us to have the opportunity to share His word, His truth, and His love.
We'll look forward.
And I just want to tell you, I love you guys. I miss you. I'm glad to be here with my kids.
I don't blame you at all. Pastor Alex Lissau with the segment Why Not God before Thanksgiving. Thank you very much, my dear friend, and we'll talk to you next week. Appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, not only is he an excellent pastor, he's one of my very, very best friends, and I appreciate his being on our podcast, Pastor Alex Lissau. John, it's almost time to say sayonara. You did an outstanding job, as usual.
I was back here spinning 7 plates, too.
I'll tell you what, I wished I had even a minor portion of your technological ability. You can run anything, and you do a great job.
Well, you ought to see me trying to work with the horses that you work with, and you'd be laughing your head off.
Well, no. It's been a blessing, a complete blessing to have you be a part of this podcast. And I want to extend from Deanne and I to you and your family a very safe and a very blessed Thanksgiving. And we'll look forward to next week. Now, there will be a little change next week, and I'd like you to discuss that if you could.
Yeah, we got to start an hour early. There's just some different things going on, and it's going to be difficult for our schedules to coordinate. So if you tuned in, you want to tune in next week, and we'll send out a reminder. be sure to join us at noon Mountain Time. At
Right.
noon Mountain Time, we'll go the same length of time. We got to finish up early. So anyway, we'll see you then.
John, God bless you and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the way things were, the way things ought to be. Zeb at the Ranch, the day before Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving.